The morning felt ordinary. The soft hum of the refrigerator, sunlight pouring through half-open blinds, the comforting smell of coffee brewing, it was the kind of morning Emma loved. She moved through the kitchen in her usual rhythm, barefoot on the cool tiles, her favorite mug in hand. When she reached for her husband Daniel's phone to check the time, something caught her eye, a notification. Just one message, but enough to unravel everything. She opened it. Words meant for someone else, intimate and full of familiarity. And then more. Dozens of them. Photos. Plans. Promises that had nothing to do with her. Time stopped. The kettle began to whistle, louder, shrill now, but she didn't move. She just stared at the screen, her heart thudding against her ribs, her breath shallow. There was no screaming, no broken plates, no accusations. Just stillness. Like watching the life she knew slip quietly through her fingers. She put the phone down. In that moment, Emma realized something was over. But what she didn't know yet, what she couldn't know, was that something else, something far more powerful, was about to begin. Emma didn't remember grabbing her keys. She didn't remember the drive. Only that miles had passed and the city had faded into quiet streets lined with trees, until she was parked outside a small, weather-worn house with white shutters, her childhood home. The engine was still running, but she sat motionless, hands wrapped tightly around the steering wheel like it was the only thing holding her together. Inside her, a storm brewed. Thoughts came like waves. How could he? Why wasn't I enough? I should have seen the signs. Rage pressed against her ribs. Bitterness tasted sharp in her throat. Part of her wanted to call him, to scream, to hurt him the way he had hurt her. Another part just wanted to disappear into the past, to the safety of being a little girl in this driveway, where love still felt simple. Then, softly, like a breeze through an open window, her mother's voice echoed from memory, "Don't let someone else's darkness dim your light." She closed her eyes. That was the moment. Not loud or dramatic, but defining. Emma didn't want to be angry anymore. She didn't want to be someone who let betrayal dictate who she became. She took a deep breath and turned off the ignition. If she was going to start again, it wouldn't be as a victim, it would be as someone who chose light, even after walking through darkness. Emma walked into the shelter unsure of what she was looking for. The air smelled of old books and clean laundry, and the walls were covered with faded posters about courage, hope, and healing. She signed in at the front desk with a quiet resolve, not knowing that this place, filled with strangers, would become the space where she began to piece herself back together. At first, she just listened. To stories of women who had been hurt, betrayed, discarded. Some spoke in whispers, others with fire in their eyes. Emma didn't try to fix anything. She sat beside them, sometimes saying nothing at all, just offering presence, something she'd longed for herself. As the days passed, her own grief softened, not because it disappeared, but because it found purpose. Then she met Maria. Maria was barely 30, with tired eyes and 2 young children clinging to her legs. She had fled an abusive home in the middle of the night. Emma saw the fear in her, but also the will to fight. Something in Maria reminded Emma of herself, the quiet strength beneath the pain. She began spending more time with her, helping her find resources, filling out forms, watching the children while Maria went to job interviews. What started as volunteering soon became something deeper, a connection that made Emma feel human again. In giving her time and care to someone else, Emma found her own pain transforming. She wasn't just healing. She was helping someone else survive, and maybe, someday, thrive. The community center buzzed with quiet energy, folding tables lined with homemade baked goods, second-hand clothes, silent auction items, and the sound of children laughing in the background. Emma moved through the crowd with purpose, clipboard in hand, heart pounding with a mixture of hope and exhaustion. It had taken weeks to plan this fundraiser, late nights, calls for donations, asking for help when it felt awkward or vulnerable. But she did it, not for herself, but for Maria and her 2 children, who still slept on a borrowed mattress in a shared room at the shelter. As the final donation came in and the total passed their goal, Emma stood still for a moment, stunned. The number wasn't just money, it was a future. A home. Safety. Maria rushed to her, eyes filled with disbelief and gratitude. She wrapped her arms around Emma and whispered, "You saved us." That's when Emma broke, not from sadness, but from the sheer release of everything she'd held inside. The betrayal, the hurt, the anger, it all gave way to something bigger. She cried, not because she was weak, but because she had found strength in choosing love over bitterness. The pain that once threatened to bury her had become the soil where something beautiful grew. She didn't just move on. She made meaning out of heartbreak. She didn't just survive Daniel's betrayal, she transformed it into hope for someone else. In that moment, Emma realized, she had become the very thing she once needed. Morning light poured through the kitchen windows, just like it had months ago, but everything felt different now. There were fresh flowers on the table, a child's drawing pinned to the fridge, and the gentle hum of music playing in the background. Emma moved through the space with a quiet joy, her hands steady, her heart no longer weighed down. She sat at the table with a pen and a sheet of paper. For a moment, she just stared at the blank page. Then she began to write. Daniel. I'm not writing to reopen anything. I'm not angry anymore. In fact, I'm writing to thank you. Your betrayal broke me open, yes, but it also showed me who I really am. It led me back to the parts of myself I had forgotten. In losing the life I thought I wanted, I found something greater, my purpose. She paused, took a deep breath, and continued. I've seen women rise from ashes. I've helped one find a home. And in doing that, I found my own. You didn't save me. But your choices forced me to save myself, and then others. And for that, I'm grateful. She signed her name, folded the letter, and placed it gently in a drawer, not out of bitterness, but closure. As she stood, laughter echoed from the other room, Maria's children playing while waiting for their ride. Emma smiled, heart full. The place where her heart once broke had become the center of something warm, something alive. She wasn't broken anymore. She was blooming.